In the heart of West Africa, where the sun kissed the earth with a golden hue and the air was thick with the scent of blooming acacia, lived a young woman named Zoe. She was 27 years old, with skin as rich and dark as the fertile soil beneath her feet. Her spirit was restless, like the wind that never settled in one place, always moving, always searching. Zoe was born in a village that sat at the edge of the savannah, where the land stretched out in vast, open plains, dotted with towering baobab trees. These trees, ancient and wise, had stood for centuries, witnessing the rise and fall of generations. Zoe had always been drawn to these trees, feeling a connection she couldn't quite explain. They were a symbol of strength, resilience, and mystery, qualities that Zoe saw in herself. As a child, Zoe had listened to the elders' stories about the spirits that lived within the baobab trees, spirits that protected the land and its people. These tales filled her with wonder and curiosity, sparking a desire to explore the world beyond her village. And so, when she came of age, Zoe set out on a journey to discover the stories and wisdom of other villagers, hoping to gather knowledge that would one day make her a great elder, a storyteller of renown. Her journey took her to many places, from bustling markets filled with vibrant fabrics and spices to quiet hamlets where the only sounds were the calls of birds and the rustling of leaves. She met many people along the way, traders, farmers, warriors, and healers, each with their own stories to tell. Zoe absorbed these tales like a sponge, storing them in her mind like precious treasures. But one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Zoe found herself on a road she didn't recognize. The path was narrow and winding, bordered by thick vegetation that seemed to close in around her as the light faded. She had been following the advice of an old trader she met at the last village, who told her of a shortcut that would lead her to a place where the oldest and wisest baobab tree stood, a tree said to hold the answers to life's greatest mysteries. As Zoe walked, the road grew darker, the shadows lengthening until they swallowed the light completely. The night came quickly in this part of the land, and soon, Zoe found herself enveloped in darkness. The moon, which had been full and bright the night before, was now hidden behind thick clouds, leaving her with only the faint light of the stars to guide her. Zoe's heart began to race. She had always been brave, unafraid of the unknown, but something about this road felt different. It was as if the very air had changed, growing heavier and more oppressive with each step she took. The sounds of the night, crickets chirping, leaves rustling, seemed louder, more menacing, and Zoe couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Despite her fear, Zoe pressed on, determined to find the baobab tree the trader had spoken of. But the road seemed endless, twisting and turning without any sign of the tree or the village that was supposed to lie beyond. Her legs grew tired, and her feet ached from the rough terrain. She stumbled over roots and rocks, her steps growing slower and more labored. Finally, after what felt like hours of walking, Zoe could go no further. She spotted a large baobab tree by the side of the road, its massive trunk rising up into the darkness like a silent sentinel. With a sigh of relief, Zoe made her way to the tree and sat down at its base, leaning against the rough bark. The tree's presence was comforting, reminding her of the stories she had heard as a child about the spirits that dwelled within. As Zoe rested, the exhaustion of the day's journey began to catch up with her. Her eyelids grew heavy, and she struggled to stay awake, her mind drifting between wakefulness and sleep. She knew it was dangerous to sleep by the side of the road, but she was too tired to care. She whispered a prayer to the spirits of the baobab tree, asking for their protection, before finally succumbing to sleep. The morning sun rose slowly over the horizon, casting a warm, golden light over the landscape. In the village of Afam, just a few miles from where Zoe slept, the villagers were already awake, going about their daily routines. The men prepared to head to the fields, the women began their chores, and the children played in the open spaces between the huts. Ben, a middle-aged man known for his kindness and generosity, was among those preparing for the day. He was a widower, having lost his wife many years ago, and lived alone in a small, but comfortable hut at the edge of the village. Despite his loss, Ben had remained a positive force in the community, always willing to lend a helping hand to those in need. That morning, Ben was preparing to go to the nearby market to sell some of the goods he had made, handcrafted baskets, pots, and other items that were in high demand. He loaded his wares onto a cart and set off down the road, his mind focused on the day ahead. As Ben walked, he noticed the beauty of the morning, the way the sun filtered through the trees, the sound of birds singing, and the fresh scent of the earth after the night's dew. It was a peaceful morning, one that filled him with a sense of contentment. But as he approached a bend in the road, something caught his eye. There, lying beneath a large baobab tree, was a figure, a person, still and unmoving. Ben's heart skipped a beat, and he hurried forward, his mind racing with concern. As he got closer, he saw that it was a young woman, her clothes dirty and torn, her face pale and drawn. Ben knelt beside her, gently shaking her shoulder. "Sister, are you all right?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Zoe stirred, her eyes fluttering open. For a moment, she was disoriented, unsure of where she was. But as her vision cleared, she saw the kind face of the man kneeling beside her, and the memory of the previous night came rushing back. I got lost," Zoe said weakly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was trying to find the village, but I couldn't. I couldn't find my way." Ben's heart went out to her. He could see that she was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. Without hesitation, he offered her his hand. "Come with me," he said gently. "I'll take you to my home. You can rest there and regain your strength." Zoe hesitated for a moment, but there was something in Ben's eyes that reassured her. He seemed trustworthy, a man of honor and compassion. She nodded and allowed him to help her to her feet. She was unsteady, her legs weak from the night spent on the cold ground, but Ben supported her, guiding her to his cart. As they made their way back to the village, Zoe couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. She had been so scared, so lost, but now she was safe, in the care of someone who seemed genuinely kind. The road that had seemed so dark and ominous the night before now felt less threatening, the presence of Ben beside her a comforting balm to her frayed nerves. When they arrived at Ben's hut, he helped Zoe inside and gave her a place to rest. He brought her food and water, insisting that she eat something to regain her strength. Zoe was grateful, though her appetite was small. She managed a few bites of the meal Ben had prepared, feeling the warmth of the food fill her belly. "Thank you," Zoe said, her voice still weak, but filled with gratitude. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't found me." Ben smiled, a gentle expression that spoke of his genuine care. "There's no need to thank me," he said. "It was the right thing to do. You're safe now, and that's all that matters." Zoe nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude toward this man who had shown her such kindness. She hadn't expected to find anyone on that dark road, let alone someone who would take her into their home and care for her as Ben had. She knew that she had been lucky, blessed, even, to have crossed paths with him. As the days passed, Zoe's strength gradually returned. Ben continued to care for her, providing her with food, shelter, and companionship. They spent time talking, sharing stories about their lives, their hopes, and their dreams. Zoe found herself opening up to Ben in a way she hadn't with anyone else, telling him about her travels and the things she had learned along the way. Ben listened with interest, impressed by Zoe's courage and determination. He admired her spirit, her thirst for knowledge, and her resilience in the face of adversity. There was something special about her, something that drew him to her in a way he couldn't quite explain. And as the weeks turned into months, that connection deepened. Ben found himself thinking of Zoe more and more, his feelings for her growing stronger with each passing day. She had become a part of his life, a bright light that had filled the void left by the loss of his wife. He couldn't imagine his life without her now. But there was something else, something that lingered at the edge of his mind, an unsettling feeling that he couldn't shake. It was as if a shadow had fallen over his heart, a nagging sense of unease that he couldn't quite put into words. He had begun to have strange dreams, dreams in which he saw a young girl, lost and alone, crying out for her father. Ben dismissed the dreams at first, attributing them to the stress of his responsibilities. But as they became more frequent, more vivid, he began to wonder if they were trying to tell him something important. Despite his unease, Ben couldn't deny the love he felt for Zoe. And so, one evening, as the sun set over the village and the sky turned a deep shade of purple, he made a decision. He would ask Zoe to marry him. She had brought joy and warmth back into his life, and he wanted to spend the rest of his days with her by his side. Little did Ben know, the truth that lay hidden in the shadows of their pasts would soon come to light, a truth that would change their lives forever. One evening, as they sat together outside Ben's hut, watching the sun set over the village, Ben turned to Zoe, his heart heavy with the decision he had made. "Zoe," he began, his voice soft but filled with emotion, "there's something I want to ask you." Zoe looked at him, her eyes filled with warmth and affection. "What is it, Ben?" Ben took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He had thought long and hard about this moment, and now that it was here, he felt both excited and nervous. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about the time we've spent together, and how much you mean to me," Ben said, his voice trembling slightly. "You've brought so much joy and light into my life, Zoe. I never thought I would find love again, but with you, I've found something I never knew I was missing." Zoe's heart swelled with emotion as she listened to Ben's words. She had felt the same way, but hearing him say it out loud made her realize just how much she had come to care for him. "Ben," Zoe began, her voice soft and filled with emotion, "I feel the same way. You've given me a home, a place where I feel like I belong. I've never felt this way before, and it scares me a little, but it also makes me happy in a way I can't even describe." Ben smiled, his heart filling with love for the woman sitting beside him.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
He reached out and took her hand, holding it gently as he looked into her eyes. "Zoe, I want to spend the rest of my life with you," Ben said, his voice steady and sincere. "Will you marry me?" Zoe felt her breath catch in her throat. She had always been a wanderer, never staying in one place for too long, but with Ben, she felt a sense of peace and belonging that she had never known before. She knew, in her heart, that this was where she was meant to be. "Yes, Ben," Zoe said, her voice filled with love and certainty. "I will marry you." Ben's heart soared with joy as he pulled Zoe into his arms, holding her close as the sun set behind them, casting a warm, golden glow over the village. They sat together in silence, the weight of their decision settling over them like a comforting blanket. But as the night fell and the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that there was something he was missing, something important that he had yet to uncover. The dreams continued to haunt him, their meaning just out of reach, like a puzzle with a missing piece. For now, though, Ben chose to focus on the present, on the love he felt for Zoe and the life they were about to build together. Little did he know, the answers he sought would soon come to light, revealing a truth that would change everything.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.